Disclaimer: this review will have a more critical and serious tone to it than other videos of mine. Most of the gameplay footage from this review has been taken from my Let's Play of Sonic Colors Ultimate on PC. I have also dedicated a segment of the review to the Switch version as well, which beforehand I will give a seizure warning ahead of time since certain clips have flashing colors and glitchy effects. I will also allow timestamps if you want to skip certain segments of the review, including the Switch portion. This video is not a review of Sonic Colors as a game by itself, but rather the changes and additions made in Sonic Colors Ultimate. This review was written after the early access release and before any major patches have come out, so some criticisms I make are subject to change. All views are mine and mine alone, and you are allowed to agree or disagree as you choose. The purpose of this video is to critique the work done with Sonic Colors Ultimate and point out things that need to be improved or patched. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the review. So Sonic Colors Ultimate came out. I'd like to begin this by saying that Sonic Colors is a very important game in the series for me. I personally rank it in the highest tier of Sonic games, up there with Sonic Generations and Sonic Mania. And more importantly, it was the game that made me a fan of Sonic. I've played some games in the series beforehand like Sonic 2 and Sonic and All-Stars Racing and Sonic 4. But watching the trailers for Sonic Colors really made me want to give the Blue Hedgehog a fair shot, so I purchased the DS version first and then the Wii version, and I had a blast with both versions. I enjoyed a bit of Sonic 2 at the time, but I still didn't get Sonic. The damn water section in Chemical Plant always kicked my ass. Sonic Colors was just pure, honest fun. Watching Sonic gracefully run and jump through vibrant worlds while listening to upbeat music that will be nail-glued into your head was a feeling I haven't felt in any other game up to that point. It was at this moment that I got the appeal of Sonic, and I've been a fan ever since, playing nearly every game in the franchise. Fast forward to today. We've been dying for an HD port of one of the most beloved games in the franchise, and during May of this year, we finally got confirmation that we'd be getting an HD remaster called Sonic Colors Ultimate. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding it prior to the game's release, but now the game has finally released in early access as I'm writing this and probably everywhere else as this review is published. So how had it turned out? Well, it's something alright, and I have incredibly conflicting feelings of it.
Your game still has some bugs.
At its core, it's still Sonic Colors, the same amazing game that put Sonic back on track after a bunch of mediocre console outings. If you've never played Colors before, you might just be having a grand old time with Sonic Colors Ultimate, depending on what console you're playing it on, primarily Xbox and PC. But to those who have played Sonic Colors numerous times on the Wii, what happened here? Okay, so just so this video isn't completely negative, let's start with some positives. The game's visuals have much improved on a technical level. On every console but the Switch, the game now runs up to 4K at a silky smooth 60 frames per second, and Colors has never felt smoother. And I'd argue that some stages do look a lot better than how they did in the original game. Another thing I like is that lives are a thing of the past. You can now die as many times as you want and not worry about getting a game over. In its place, we have a new Tails save mechanic where if you fall into a pit, Tails will pick you up and place you near the platform you started your jump on. I like the concept, and it's incredibly helpful for newcomers who haven't played a Sonic game before. Not really something for me since I'm perfectly fine with the challenge of the original game, but it's a fine inclusion nonetheless. In Ultimate, there's also a plethora of cosmetics that you can have Sonic equip by unlocking them via park tokens, which are thrown throughout the levels and rewards for doing well in levels, bosses, and races. You can change Sonic's gloves, shoes, aura, and boost effect, and while I wish there were more things to customize, like maybe some wearable hats or unique shoe models, just making Sonic look slightly more unique than normal is something I am a massive fan of. Character customization was one of the better parts of Sonic Forces, and I'm glad that an element of that has made its way into Sonic Colors. I'm a big fan of this edition. The last major addition I really like are the Rival Rush races as Metal Sonic. He never made an appearance in the original game, so I'm glad that Ultimate found a neat way to include him without intruding on the actual content of the base game. A bigger plus is that the races themselves are actually pretty challenging for the average player. Unlike something like the Ghost races in Sonic Generations, these require pretty good knowledge of the stages you race him in. You'll need to know what shortcuts to take, manage platforming sections really quickly, and do it all in one run of the stage without dying. And as a bonus, you are rewarded handsomely for your efforts. The only thing I don't really like about these is that some of the stage choices for them are odd. Like, why do you have to race him in Starlight Carnival Act 1 or Aquarium Park Act 2? One of them is a long auto runner with a few 2D sections, and the other is an incredibly short 2D stage that looks like something you could make in Super Mario Maker. Why not Starlight Act 5 and Aquarium Act 1, since those have good 3D sections where you're fully in control of Sonic? I don't know, but they're still fun nonetheless. And finally, there are a few tiny adjustments that improve the experience of the game. You can change the button mapping in-game on any version. There's a new sweet spot homing attack that allows you to gain a little bit of boost if you time your homing attack at just the right moment. You can no longer get a game over in the co-op Gameland stages. There's a small timer for how much longer you have control for in the results screen. And the biggest improvement of all, you can skip the insanely long credits after beating the game for the first time. Thank you. Now I don't have to scroll through Twitter or have a snack break after beating the game. I mean, I probably still would, but I don't have to anymore. Is that it? Anything else I can add? I mean, there's a tracker for unlocking Supersonic now, and there are achievements, and the eyes on the Nega Wisp armor now glow. Well, okay, I guess it's time to move on to the negatives of this remaster. As much as I hate to say it, I'm not gonna be very nice to this remaster from here on out. There's a lot to cover, and I absolutely need to address some of these major issues that can make this considered the inferior version of the game. First off, the tail safe mechanic I mentioned, it isn't optional, you have to leave it on. There's no way to turn it off. Worse is that you can also use it to cheese the game. You can fall off and it respawns red rings and regular rings, meaning you can grind them for an easy S rank on every stage. How was this an oversight, I may ask? Red ring locations that test your knowledge of the mechanics of the game can be completely cheesed with a tail save respawn, avoiding all challenge of the collectible. Another thing, let's say I missed a red ring that I wanted to grab and I can't go back and get it. Okay, well, I'll just jump off a pit and go back to the previous checkpoint to get it. Well, tough shit, because Tails is gonna catch you each and every time until you run out of tail saves, so you instead have to restart the entire level just to go back and get what you missed. They fixed what wasn't broken, and there's no other way around it. So, all of the main stage OSTs have been remixed by various composers, and while I have nothing but respect for the musicians here, as I know they're capable of making incredibly high quality tracks, this soundtrack did not need to be remixed for this version, if I'm being honest. The original OST is one of the best in the entire franchise, rivaling Sonic 06 if you ask me. In my opinion, there is not a single bad track in Sonic Colors. but some of these remixes are either not better or genuinely worse than the original. Don't worry, there are plenty of remixes that I think are fantastic. But then there are ones that either have worse instrumentation or way too overdone. The best thing I can say about these is that they are still decent tracks on their own, but some of them are just vastly inferior to the original in my opinion. But of course, music is very subjective, so maybe you may disagree, and that's okay. What is particularly dumb though is that there is no option to change to the original tracks, something that a remaster I think definitely needs if they include a remix soundtrack. The original tracks are actually in the game. They play where tracks are reused in the same world, but there's no option to exclusively have the remixes or the original OST on. While we're on the topic of audio, the audio mixing in this version is really, really bad. Sometimes things only play in one ear, sometimes things don't play at all, sometimes things are so stupidly loud that you don't even want to perform actions like the sweet spot because the ching noise it makes wants to make you punch a hole in the wall of agitation. To top it all off, you can't toggle the volume for music and sound effects individually. You either get music with loud sound effects, or no music and no sound effects. That is incredibly dumb. And to top it all off, halfway through the 30-minute long credit sequence, there is no music at all. As I said earlier, some stages look better graphically, but some others look a bit worse visually. Tropical Resort is too dark, Starlight Carnival is too bright, Asteroid Coaster doesn't have proper shading on these asteroids, and the pop-in is so noticeable it hurts. It's such a mixed bag visually, and while it's a technical improvement through the higher resolution and frame rate, I can see why the Wii version is a lot more impressive since the hardware was incredibly limited back then. The original cutscenes are back, and they honestly just look terrible. They attempted to AI upscale the cutscenes, but it just ends up as a blurry image with outdated models and graphics that look nothing like the actual game you're playing. The CGI cutscenes still look really good, but I honestly prefer the cutscenes just being in 480p to this. They just look wrong here. There's a new Wisp called the Jade Ghost Wisp, but it isn't very fun to use. I love the idea that there are some new sections of levels to give the Wisp purpose, and some of the red rings even have completely new locations, but it just moves so slowly and the lock-on doesn't work sometimes. It just didn't really need to exist, honestly. And now we get into the meat and potatoes of why this remaster is such a massive disappointment. This game is buggy as all hell. That may not come as a surprise to some, Nearly every 3D Sonic game has a good amount of glitches of the funny and annoying variety, but Sonic Colors is one of the most polished and complete 3D Sonic games in the franchise. However, Ultimate finds a way to break it into tiny pieces. Let's go through the list, shall we? I'm gonna need a drink for this. Upon starting up the game, the frame rate was very stuttery and the load times were almost comparable to Sonic 06. I did manage to fix that by installing the game on my tiny SSD, but I shouldn't have to do that since the Wii version loads 5 times faster on an old console. I had my game freeze when using the Spike Wisp in Starlight Act 5. I had the many audio glitches I mentioned. The file size is huge on PC. Some of the collision on half loops is broken. Many visual effects just straight up don't play sometimes, particularly explosions. The camera freaks out a little after using the new Jade Ghost Wisp. The final color blaster meter effect is just white squares. I phased through the floor and died here in Planet Wisp at 6. I was dragged over these springs in this automated segment in Asteroid Coaster Act 1. Enemies that are supposed to fall slowly fall super fast now, making certain sections unfair. Again, cutscene music would not play.
Firing! Impossible! How? Ta-da!
Some spinning objects just spaz out, and the effects on red rings and 10 or 100 rings just freak out sometimes. There are plenty more glitches that I didn't even encounter. I played the game on PC, which is considered to be the most stable version next to the Xbox version, but that absolutely does not excuse some of the other stuff I've seen on Twitter for PlayStation. But since this is one of my favorite 3D Sonic games, before I heard anything about it online, I decided to pick up the Switch version as well, for review purposes and personally. Sonic Colors was built on a Nintendo console and made for 30 frames per second, and Sonic Colors Ultimate runs at that targeted frame rate on Switch. So surely this game is better optimized for a modern Nintendo console, right? Oh, for fuck's sake. They just couldn't optimize it well for that platform either, despite it being a Wii game. Guys, this game, there is simply no way that Sega looked at this and thought this was okay to ship. I will say the game doesn't look too bad in portable mode, and when you're just playing the game normally from beginning to end, it's fine. But every glitch I mentioned that was in the other versions also applied to the Switch version in full force. Enemies still drop like a dime, the visuals still glitch up, and even more issues surface in this version. I saw so many particles flickering, especially on the final boss, that it started to hurt my head. The frame rate has a mighty hard time keeping its 30 FPS target, especially when using wisps. It feels like my damn console is gonna explode just by playing the game. On top of that, despite colors on Wii masking it really well, the pop-in on Switch is somehow even worse than the other versions of the game. You can see the path forming in front of you in some parts, and I'm surprised that few people were able to notice it. You want to continue the topic of performance because the load times are stupidly long for Sonic Colors standards in the Switch version. I had issues with loads on the PC version, so you probably can't even imagine how agitating it is to be waiting for 20 seconds to get into the first level of the game. It's also the worst feeling when the song starts to get good and you wish you were playing, but it's still loading. And in the very rare instance, the load times can be longer than the stage itself. How does the Wii trounce every version of Sonic Colors in load times? They did not optimize this game. And as you saw a second ago, the Switch version of Sonic Colors Ultimate has by far the most seizure-inducing graphical glitches I think I have ever seen in a video game. While you can rather easily go through an entire playthrough of Colors Ultimate on Switch without encountering one of these, it's just as easy to replicate those glitches from Twitter that I showed, and it's insane. So I, of course, couldn't help myself and tested to see if I could replicate them. Look at the footage I am putting in front of you. This game was shipped in a sealed package and released for modern HD consoles. There is simply no way Sega could ever look at this mess and say that this is an acceptable version of the remaster. Sonic, can you stop? Stop coming towards me. Sonic, please, I beg you stay away. Sonic, out! Before you rush into the comments and say that the Switch is not capable of running a game like Sonic Colors, you are wrong. Not only is the Switch great at running other Wii games, but Sonic Forces, Team Sonic Racing, and Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games run at a perfectly stable frame rate on Switch, and those are far more graphically intensive than any Wii game. This game was simply not well optimized for the platform. All I can say is that if you plan to pick up a copy of Sonic Colors Ultimate, avoid the Switch version like the plague unless if there is literally zero other ways you can play Colors, original or not original. This version simply has to be patched soon before people get damaged by these broken effects. In conclusion, Sonic Colors Ultimate at its best is a somewhat fine enough way to play a Wii classic, specifically on Xbox and PC. I did enjoy myself while playing it since at its core, it is still Sonic Colors, which is a fantastic game. But from all the issues I've mentioned and more, this remaster was very clearly rushed out the door to meet the deadline for Sonic's 30th anniversary. I don't want to blame any of the developers for this train wreck of a remaster. I'm willing to bet that they tried their hardest to make Sonic Colors Ultimate a great way to play the original, but they were really not given enough time to patch all of the glitches that became present when porting this 10-year-old game to a new engine to get it running at a much higher frame rate and resolution. This game 100% needs to be patched via updates, no ifs, ands, or buts, especially the Switch version. If Super Mario Galaxy and The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword can be well optimized to run at a crisp 1080p 60 frames per second on this handheld device, so should Sonic Colors Ultimate. And it isn't the Switch's fault, it's the way this game was handled. But instead of throwing this game away in the garbage, please Sega, own up to your mistakes and work on patching this remaster for the next few months. This game was supposed to be a big deal for Sonic. It was intended for audiences who watched the Sonic movie and wanted to get into the franchise. Do we really want them to get a bad impression and not support the series anymore? Hell no. Whether the 2020 pandemic impacted development or not, there is absolutely no excuse for how this remaster turned out. The audio mixing is terrible, there is an extreme lack of options, the game is horribly optimized for certain platforms, and there is an abundance of glitches and visual hiccups that cannot be ignored. If you decide to buy Sonic Colors Ultimate if you've never played the game before, I really hope you do enjoy it. Colors is a fantastic game with some of the most varied levels and greatest music in the entire series, but this remaster does not do it justice whatsoever. I can ignore some minor things like Sonic's eyes not moving or the occasional point where Sonic jerks around in an automated section, but there are too many of these big and minor nitpicks for me to recommend this over the original if you've already played Colors. Sonic Colors Ultimate is a great game, but a mess of a remaster, and I am very disappointed. Sonic deserves far better than this. He is one of the biggest franchises in all of gaming. He does not deserve these unfinished disasters, and it very much concerns me for the future of the franchise, especially Sonic Origins and the 2022 Sonic game. Sega, give your Sonic games the time they need to develop, play test them a whole bunch, delay the game if needed, and do not rush them out the door like Sonic 06 and Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. Patch this game with updates and make sure this never happens again. Sonic has gone through some serious shit and currently has a mixed reputation right now. The last thing we need is yet another Sonic 06. I beg you to take all of this into massive consideration for the next major Sonic game. Sup folks, I wanted to end this with a bit of an unscripted segment. So I made this video and I was very critical on the game because I really care about Sonic and I really like Sonic Colors, so I was pretty disappointed to see it turn out this way. And to leave things on a little bit of a positive note, I will say that I did enjoy my time with the remaster. I do like Sonic Colors Ultimate, but that's primarily because at its core it is Sonic Colors, which is a game I really like, and none of the additions made to Ultimate really make it the definitive version for me, or a version I would vastly prefer over the Wii. But if you do like Sonic Colors Ultimate, I think that's really cool. I've actually encountered quite a few people that, have really been enjoying the game, that have never played Sonic Colors before, or maybe they have played Sonic Colors and maybe they think that this is the definitive version of the game, and if they think that, well, I'm happy for them. It's just, I know that they can do better, and I was really hoping that they would give this game the time it needed to be the best version of Sonic Colors, since I've always wanted an HD port of Sonic Colors to PC and other consoles as well. But to me, it was kind of fumbled quite a bit. It was rushed. It had to meet a deadline, and it's pretty unfortunate how it turned out, but I still did have fun with it at the end of the day. So if you're looking to play Sonic Colors, then I guess, well, I was gonna say you could do worse, but if you don't have a Wii or a PC and you're still looking to play Sonic Colors, I would still recommend buying Ultimate, at least after some patches maybe. So yeah, that's just kind of how I feel about Ultimate. I'm pretty disappointed, but at its core, it is still a really fun game, and I am glad that they at least attempted to make a remaster out of it. Now I'm just really hoping that they patch it for the next few months, because the state that it's in is pretty bad, so it definitely needs some fixing before it can be called the Ultimate version or be an acceptable game at all. I appreciate you all watching. I guess I better end this on a joke. Sonic's always had a rough transition to 3D.